Super scientists, you are going to need that big Florida blue science book with the sea turtle. And we are going to keep digging in deep to energy. But today we're going to focus on light. And here's my question for you before we get started. How does light move? Have you ever wondered that? Well, we are going to learn all about light and how it moves today and tomorrow. So while I am sharing my screen with you, I would like you to turn to page 203 in your science book. 203. Okay. 203. All right, so I want you to think about this question. And it says, find the answer to the following question in the lesson. So we'll read some pages and then we'll go back to this. But take a minute and look at this picture. Okay, well, it's an ambulance, right? What's wrong with the writing on the ambulance? What's wrong with it? It's backwards, right? So I've never noticed this before, but I'm really going to pay attention when I see an ambulance. All ambulances, I guess, have it written backwards. But why? So as we're reading, we're going to kind of think about that, okay? And then we'll also be talking about how light moves. So down at the bottom, there is a spot for some important vocabulary words. All right, so we want to write these down and we're going to hunt for them as we're reading. And when we get to them, we're going to underline them so that we know the definitions and what they mean. So our first word is absorb. Okay, absorb. Our next word is shadow. And then we have two that sound similar. Reflect and refract. Okay, so as we're reading and learning about how light moves, as we're reading and thinking about why the word ambulance is backwards on an ambulance, and now I know you're going to check too because I know I am at an ambulance when I actually see one. Are they all backwards? And why? We'll figure that out in a minute. And as we're reading, you will be hunting and thinking about these words. Say them with me. Absorb, shadow, reflect, and refract. All right, go ahead and turn to the first page, 204. Okay, a lighted path. So you're reading along with me. Light is all around us. Light's movement allows us to see. How? All right, well, let's go ahead and dig in and find out. Light moves in straight lines. It's like going in and out. Let's wait a minute. Focusing a little bit better. See if I turn my light on, if that helps. Not much better. Let me make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Ta-da, you can see. All right, let's start over. Light moves in straight lines. In the picture at the top of this page, the flashlight beam is a straight line. The beam does not bend or curve. Look at the picture below. The top of the light beam is a straight line, and the bottom of the light beam is a straight line. The whole light beam is straight. Okay, so let's unzoom. You can notice. So look at this, what they're talking about. The beam is a straight line, okay? So light moves in a straight line. That is something important. We are going to underline that. Actually, let's box it and let's put a star by it. That's really important. We're going to need to know that. So light moves in a straight line, just like the beam of the flashlight. It's in a straight line, okay? Let's look down here. The light is below the boy's face. The shadow of his nose is above his nose. So if you look, do you see his shadow of his nose? Interesting. All right, we haven't come to any of our vocabulary words yet. But now we know, say it with me, how does light move? In a straight line. All right, moving on to the next page. What happens when light hits an object? It cannot keep going straight. Objects can absorb light. One of our words. Underline it as we read it. Absorb means to take in. The marshmallow, right here, and the stick block light. They either absorb or bounce back all the light that hits them. No light goes through. So what does that mean? Well, the marshmallow and the stick have a shadow. Another word, shadow, is the dark area behind an object that has blocked light. Okay, so the light does not go through the marshmallow. It creates a shadow. The shadow is the dark area behind an object that has blocked light. It's pretty cool, right? And we want to make sure you pay attention to this word, behind. The shadow is behind the object, okay? The shadow has a shape that is similar to the object. Pretty similar, right? That's because light travels in what kind of line? In a straight line. All right, and then let's look here at this picture, and I think my face might be blocking it a little bit. The light in the tent is blocked by the kids' bodies. They absorb most of the light that hits them. You can see the shadow on the side of the tent. So do you see their shadow? All right, here's your first activity. One of these lights is on. So one of these flashlights is on. It's making a shadow behind the block. Draw a circle around the light that is on. So which flashlight would be creating the shadow? Which flashlight? Go ahead and circle it. Well, you should have circled this flashlight right here, because we know light travels in a straight line. And then it creates a shadow behind the object. So right here is its what? Shadow. Okay, and a shadow is the dark area behind the block. Did you get it right? I knew you would. You're so smart. All right, let's keep reading. So we have not answered that question about why the ambulance is written backwards. Let's see if we can find out. All right, seeing double. Not all objects absorb light. Some objects bounce light back in the opposite direction. A surface can reflect, another one of our words, or bounce back light. Smooth glass, metal, and water reflect well. Picture a calm lake. So here we've got that picture of a calm lake. The image on the lake is formed by light reflecting off its surface. The beam of the flashlight below is shining downward. You see it? It traveled in a straight line until it hit an object that reflected it. The light bounced back when it reflected. So do you see this light right here? So it looks like it's hitting like maybe like a glass table. And once it hits that table, it didn't create the shadow. It bounced back. It reflected. Okay. All right. Still haven't found that answer yet. All right. Did you ever notice that things look backward in a mirror? Words are hard to read if you reflect them in a mirror because they're reversed. A reflected image is always reversed. All right, let's look at this real quick and then we'll think about that ambulance. Use a hand mirror. So if you have a mirror, you can do this activity. I don't have a mirror with me. If you want to go hold it up, pause it and hold it up real quick in a mirror in your bathroom or in your bedroom, go ahead. You might already know what it says, but I'll give you like 30 seconds to go run and see if you can. And I do not have a mirror with me. But if I held this up, it reads backwards. So it would go this way. So if I went from right to left, I would have N-O. What's that spell? No. And you might already know this. And then if I start backwards, it says what? No fishing. All right, so let's do our little activity down at the bottom and then we'll go back to that ambulance. So draw the reflection of the canoe in the water. All right, well, what do you think the reflection would look like? So we know the reflection is when the light bounces back. So the reflection, so if they looked down in the water, it's kind of like a mirror. They can see themselves. They can see their reflection. So they would probably see a little bit of their boat, right? And then she'd see herself. She'd see her arm, her body, right? And then the little bit of the boat, and then they'd see the canoe or the canoe oar, and then kind of his body. So it kind of look like that. And I'm not a reflection artist. All right, so let's stop and think about this, okay? Our question on that first page. What's wrong with the writing on the ambulance? Well, it's backwards, right? But why? Okay, so think about this. And you might not necessarily know this, but in a car, especially mom and dad, they have a bunch of mirrors. We have mirrors on the side of our car. We have a mirror up inside the car where we can look and see what's behind us. So what did we learn about a mirror? If you hold a mirror up and the words are normal, they're going to be backwards, right? But when we looked at that no fishing, it was already backwards. When we held it up, could we read it correctly? Yes. So this is something new to me, but an ambulance has the words written backwards because good drivers check their mirrors. And if they look in their mirror, they will be able to read that they have what behind them? That they have an ambulance behind them. So the writing is normal when it's reflected in the mirror. That's how the driver in front can tell it's an ambulance. So let's go ahead and write that. And you might have already known that, but I did not. Well, I did not know that ambulances are written backwards. I knew that you could look in a mirror and it would reflect either backwards or forwards. All right, so we'll go ahead and write that. The writing would be normal if it is, and there's one of our vocab words, reflected in a mirror. This way, the driver knows an ambulance is behind them. Pretty cool. All right, so that is reflection. And I'll give you about 30 seconds to write that down. And we're going to do one more page today, friends. We've talked about absorb. We've talked about shadow. We've talked about reflect. So that leaves us to refract, which might be an unknown word to us. So we are on page 208. Bend it. Glass and water can reflect light. They can also bend light. So here we've got a duck, and it is showing labels of refraction. Well, let's read and see if we can figure out what refraction means. And I love how you're patient, so I can zoom in and you can see. Light can refract or what? Bend. Did you know light can bend? When it moves from one clear material to another. When the beam hits the water in the tank, it refracts. So we know light travels in a what? Straight line. So they're holding this flashlight down like this. They're kind of slanting it, but it's still a straight line, right? But then when you notice hit that water, it actually bends. Look at it. See how it goes down? It bends. That's interesting. So that's what refract means. It means to bend. So let's focus on this duck. And they're pointing to the bottom, the reflection, the shadow of the duck. And then they've got refraction written on it. So it says, it's easy to see where light is refracted. Just look for the break. What makes the duck look broken? Light reflects from the duck above water and underwater. Light from the duck's top half goes straight to your eyes. So that's how we can see it, right? Light from its bottom half goes through water first. The light refracts or what? Breaks, right? Bends as it leaves the water. This makes the duck's belly and legs look separate from the top half of its body. So if you've ever been to like an aquarium, you might have noticed that before. So if you look, and you can see it a little bit probably better on yours, see how the bottom part isn't really like matching up with the duck? That's where it has refracted or the light has bent. All right, last thing today. Ooh, cause and effect, we're good at that. So we have to find the cause. Because something, an object may appear broken. Well, because of what? Because light is refracted, right? An object may appear broken. All right, guys, that is all we are going to do today, okay? We have learned 4 new vocabulary words. We have learned absorb. What does absorb mean? Do you remember? Absorb means to take in. So kind of think about like if you put a towel in water, it soaks it up, it absorbs it, it takes it in, okay? So we know objects can absorb light, right? And then we talked about shadow. Is a shadow in front or behind an object? It's behind, right? A shadow is the dark area behind an object that's blocked the light. Okay. And then we talked about reflect, which means it bounces back light, a mirror, right? And then we talked about refract, where it bends, right? Where light can bend. That's when it moves from one clear material to another. Okay? All right, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.